My name is Travis. I am an intern here at Finessed Media, and today we have a very special treat for you. We have author, brand and artist development specialist, and young industry professional, Sierra Imari, joining us today to tell us about how to increase your revenue as an artist and what it takes to build your brand during the quarantine. So, Sierra, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Firstly, I want to thank again you Travis and Finesse Media for having me today. I'm really
Hmm.
excited with all of you and just have more of like an intimate setting with you guys. So I'm just super excited. Just a little bit more about me. I'm a 20-year-old college student and young industry professional. I go to the Los Angeles Film School for entertainment business, and I'm also a full-time publicist where we work with music artists. I'm called Society House PR, working with publicists that's worked in the business for 20 years, Tony Ferguson. And also I use my Instagram to educate music artists with the resources that I have from working in the industry and my schooling as well. So I just use my resources to better the industry as a whole. So I'm just excited to, talk with you guys and, chop it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I was when I was looking through your bio, I saw that you actually that with the full time. Let me pull it up real quick. Full time at with Society House. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, what does that entail?
Absolutely. So as a publicist, my role, specific as a junior publicist, my role is to incorporate a lot of the digital aspects
Hmm.
into traditional PR. So usually when it comes to traditional PR, that's pitching the press, setting up interviews, getting articles written. And, now with social media being such a major industry game changer, I'm
Hmm.
now implementing that with IG Live interviews, implementing that with influencers, influencer marketing with our music artists that we work with. So just using my expertise as a Gen Z to help,
Hmm.
PR kind of make that transition into the digital space.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Sounds yeah, that sounds really cool. Like a very interesting job, and to land something that like in what you want to do full time. That's not that's pretty rare and very awesome.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah. So one of my first questions is just kind of I know. Oh, we got someone coming in. Uh, like I know you've been a part of the music industry for a long. Oh, did I? Hello.
Hi, I can hear you.
Hi. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're growing up. You were around uh, like you have relatives in the music industry. Could you tell us a little bit about that experience or what that
Absolutely.
was like?
Absolutely. So my experience is a little different than you guys may think. So
Mhm.
usually when people hear that, I grew up in the industry, they assume that it's like very lavish, very camera, paparazzi, and
Mhm.
all of that. And it really was not like that. Both
Mhm.
of my parents actually were executives in the business from the early 90s to the mid 2000s. But they were behind the scenes. So being around the industry with executives and understanding what a development deal was at 7 years old, when A&R was at 8, it was really, I would say, essential to my childhood. I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina when I was around 6. So just to have like that regular lifestyle. So I call it like Hannah Montana syndrome. So I was kind of living like a double
Mhm.
life. So at school, I was living a
Mhm.
regular life like a regular
Mhm.
kid. And then at home, I would be, or on breaks and stuff like that, I would be around my industry family members and going to the studio and seeing how they were really contributing to how the music industry was functioning. And I think the fact that I wasn't around it all of the time made me even more passionate, because Charlotte, I know now with like the Baby and J. Cole and a lot of new music artists coming out of North Carolina, they're getting more spotlight on their creative scene.
Mhm.
But when I was living there, it wasn't like that. So
Mhm.
just not really having that creative outlet made me even more motivated to be in the industry super young. And so I was always like creating YouTube videos, trying to find artists on YouTube and telling my mom or telling my dad or telling, industry relatives, I think you should sign them. I think you should do this. I think I could help them
Mhm.
with their brand if they did this. So just that passion of trying to contribute to the industry has basically been embedded in me from a very, very young age.
Mhm.
So that's more so about my childhood. And then when I graduated high school, I decided to
Mhm.
really take my career full throttle and move to Los Angeles. So.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. When did you know that you wanted to make this into your career? Like,
Um, I feel like I've always known, I just didn't know how to put it into terms. I
mhm.
think, as we get older in adulthood, you feel like you have to put a label on something to make it a reality. And I always knew when I was younger, I wanted to be a songwriter. When I was in fifth grade to my freshman year of high school, I was putting girl groups together. In high school, I called the news on my high school. So so using the press. So,
Mhm.
there are just attributes and characteristics about me that have always been a part of entertainment and media. So it's always been a part of my personality. And I just felt like I would, for a full-time job and career, I always want to do something that I love to do because it doesn't feel like work. So I feel like it's always been embedded in me. I just,
Mhm.
especially creativity, being an inner child, like, tapping into my inner child. And I'm super spiritual. So keeping my inner child alive with creativity is really important to me. So I feel like, why not do that for the rest of my life?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. That makes perfect sense to me.
Travis, you're
You
breaking
know,
up a little bit. Can you repeat that?
I feel very similarly. It's just like I never really imagined. No, I was just saying. Yeah, in a similar way, like I feel very similarly. Because like growing up and you're an artist, you're like you don't really imagine yourself doing something different sometimes.
Mhm.
Yeah, just let me know if my connection for some reason isn't very stable today. Um, so my next question is, when did you start your business as the Gen Z exec,
Mhm.
and why?
That's a good question.
Hmm.
So I started my business officially as the Gen Z exec of mid-June 2020. So it hasn't even been a
Congrats.
full, thank you. So it hasn't even been a full 2 months yet. But it really has changed my life with just really using my resources to their fullest potential.
Hmm.
And the reason why is because I've always educated artists. I've always used my resources to help artists and advise them, and I guess you could say consult them on like their path when it comes to their branding
Hmm.
or their strategies or just creative strategy in general. And I decided, why not really use this quarantine time and use it to my advantage. I'm not on campus in school. I don't have to go to meetings in the office, and I am always on Instagram posting music industry stuff. So why not really go full throttle and take advantage of Instagram? I think, being in the digital age, there are so
Hmm.
many people that are able to monetize off of their Instagram and create real actual businesses from that. And so I just wanted to contribute my part. And yeah, I know that, digitally I can reach more people than the people that I already knew beforehand. So I
Hmm.
just wanted to create a platform and environment where artists can get information that they can actually utilize for their best benefit.
Hmm. What do you think is the most important part of when it comes to educating or providing educational resources to artists in the music industry? Like, sorry, I'll reword that a little bit better. Like, what is the most important part or like aspects of the music industry that you think an artist should be educated on?
Hmm. I think really how the business functions from an economic standpoint. I think that's key, 100%. And I know economics, it's a creative business, so I know economics
Hmm.
is probably like that's a cringe word.
Hmm.
But honestly, it's still a business. And
Hmm.
a lot of artists get in really bad situations because they don't know how the business works from an
Yeah.
economic standpoint.
Hmm.
So but that's one reason why I created the ebook in an interactive fun
Hmm.
format, because like me, I love visual learning, I love
Hmm.
interactive learning, and I think immersive technology and digital interaction and engagement really helps Gen Z and the younger generation understand it and retain the information better. So I really think if there's a way that artists can retain the industry from an economic standpoint better from an interactive format, that would be perfect for them to be 10 steps ahead, especially while the industry is going through this reset right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So what Sierra's referring to is her book she wrote, which is a guide. I have a description of it right here. It's called The Post-Pandemic Playbook, an interactive step-by-step guide teaching music artists how to build and enhance their music career during the new normal, which I'm definitely interested in checking that out. I think it's for about $40 on Amazon. Any main thing, like main takeaways an artist could have for developing their brand right now during the quarantine?
Can you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry. You were
Oh yes, it's okay. I was wondering, is there any main thing an artist should think about right now in developing their brand during the quarantine?
That's a really good question. Honestly, I would say when it comes to a developmental standpoint is to really figure out your goals, SMART goals, are they strategic? Are they measurable? Are they attainable? Are they realistic? Are they timely? Really setting your goals, because that's going to help you strategize better. A lot of artists, they just make music and there's no real strategy behind it, or when it comes to releases or their rollout or their branding, their engagement. And unfortunately, the algorithm matters, and so having a strategy is really vital to success. And actually a mentor of mine, they said this to me the other day, actually, it's having a war mindset, wisdom, action, and results. So you have to apply that wisdom so you can get, navigate the action so you can get the results that you want from the goals that you set. So understanding your goals really, so you know how to move and navigate and maneuver 100%.
Yeah, that's cool. War mindset.
Yes.
Yeah, it does kind of imply the amount of tactician approach you need when looking at your business or your brand. So you post a lot on your Instagram outlets or a website that we can follow you on.
Yes.
Yeah. Instagram is the medium in which I see your content, and I see you post a lot about artists increasing their revenue. It seems very important to you. Are there any ways an artist can make money right now that they're not aware of?
100%. There's so many ways artists can make money. I actually have a question for you guys, the artists that are listening. Are you guys familiar with other ways to make money outside of streaming? And there's a reason why I'm asking this, but are you guys familiar with any of those ways?
Yeah, sorry, this is Nyla speaking, but
Hi, Nyla.
yeah. Hi, how are you?
Good.
It's good. But my plan originally for outside monetary gain was possibly like making merchandise geared towards the fans. I really love the way Chance the Rapper and Travis Scott, really made their music, because they didn't really think it was like the wisest idea to be an indie artist and charge people for their music. And me personally, I don't think that's a great way either, because obviously, like, you're the new person in town, so it's like you have to really prove what makes you special and what like gives you what is like the thing that draws people to your music that that people would want to pay like 99 cents even for your music. So I was thinking of possibly merchandising like during performances, or possibly even like just like small little merch ideas, in order to sort of do monetary gain. But that's another thing. Like I'm not sure if people would be interested in that. Yeah, or if they would be interested in like the designs that I have, or, you know, if it's too soon in the game to even be thinking about merchandise, you know, stuff like that.
And
Yeah.
I really like the fact that you have this mindset of, okay, I know streaming shouldn't be my only source of revenue. And I think that's something a lot of artists should consider. Multiple streams of income is key to make a living as an artist, 100%. Just to make a living in general, but definitely
Right.
as an artist, you know, because from Spotify, what you get 0.6 of a cent from each stream, like you have to get maybe like 30,000 streams to get around like $100.
Right.
So already it's having those multiple streams of income are extremely important. And, you know, I know that a lot of artists know about the merchandising, and they know about, you know, you can sell t-shirts and hats and phone cases and laptop cases and water bottles and sweatpants and, you know, hat, and just all of those different options, which is 100%, you know, accurate. However, we are in the digital space, and usually when it comes to merch, that usually happens with touring, that usually happens with live performances. And obviously, you know, with COVID and the pandemic, that has really put even merchandise on hold, especially for upcoming artists. For mainstream artists, it's easier for them to sell merch because of their reach and just overall like their brand as a mainstream, like you said, Chance the Rapper, Travis Scott, Megan Thee Stallion, you know, on those type of levels. But even when it comes to upcoming artists, you know, that's my passion, to help them also make an income and make revenue as well, because there are a lot of artists that are extremely talented, that have a lot of potential, and they deserve to make some money off of their creativity too. It's your intellectual property, so why not monetize from that? But to answer your question, Travis, I definitely would recommend artists looking at sites like Fiverr and Upwork. If you guys aren't familiar, these are freelance services sites that where you can upload your services and people can hire you to do certain things, and you can pick your price point. So for example, there's an artist friend of mine who's a producer, and he makes beats and he edits photos. And so I gave him this recommendation to see if it would actually test out, because I implemented this strategy also in my ebook as well with other monetization strategies. But he is like super dope producer. Literally, he was featured with, I don't know if you're familiar with JPEG Mafia, and the singer Mariba, who's featured on Colors Studios, if you guys aren't familiar with that platform on YouTube. So he's produced some records for them, but he wasn't making any money from his streaming, like at all. And so I told him to, you know, go on Fiverr, check it out. And on Fiverr, they have an audio music section. So you can make jingles, you can engineer, you can even do vocals. You know, people need vocals for projects and vocals for commercials and vocals for basically anything. You'd be very surprised. You can also do things like, I really like the jingles part too. And the reason why I'll say this is because we're in the pandemic, and a lot of people that have lost their day jobs, they're interested in getting into YouTube. They're interested in making podcasts. A lot of people that have creative talents, and they weren't really putting their full effort into it. Now, because of the pandemic, they're focusing on their creative endeavors. And with that, they may need a jingle. They may need an intro. They may need people editing their vocal material. They may need someone to say, hey, you know, like, I think it could be really funny if you sing this script for my class project that I have to do that's like a musical, but I want to make it funny with my presentation. You know, there's so many different ways that you can utilize your talents. It's just, honestly, the labels don't want you guys to know because they want to control you. And not saying that labels are bad or anything like that, because there's a lot of good people that work at labels. But just the infrastructure and how it was created was the labels are the hierarchy and the artists are the players. But with the pandemic, it's resetting all of that. So I think if you guys really take your power back and put a price point that you feel that you're worth on services like Fiverr and Upwork, that could be really beneficial for you guys. So I would definitely recommend you guys check that out when it comes to monetization services.
All right. Yeah, I knew about Fiverr, but I guess I didn't know that that you could do like scripts or like read or jingle. Like when I think of Fiverr, I was thinking of specifically this bass guitarist on YouTube, and he just randomly pays bassists on Fiverr. So I kind of like in my mind was like it's a bunch of like musicians just writing things, but I didn't realize how diverse the market was on Fiverr, from like jingles to a
Absolutely.
school script.
Songwriting and
Yeah.
like they have so many. I remember there was another one, outros. There was another one for commercials because again, people are in their creative space right now. Like,
Hmm.
and I want you guys also to realize the importance of being an artist in the sense of when the world stopped back in March, when everything was on pause, the whole world was looking to entertainment to help them cope with the pandemic.
Hmm.
People were looking at musicians, people were looking at content, people were watching movies, people were looking at influencers. They needed entertainment to help them cope. So to really understand your value when it comes to who you are as an artist, a lot of people like to downplay artists, like, oh, you're an artist, okay, whatever, like it is
Hmm.
what it is. But in actuality, you have so much power with your
Hmm.
art. So really take advantage of that and take your power back and know your worth. And if labels can capitalize off of your art, why can't you?
Wonderfully said. Um, yeah, I really felt like I resonated with the like the labels don't want you to know kind of mindset, because like that's why we have individuals like you come on and interview, so we can become educated and know when we're handed that contract finally, and like, yeah, they're handing you $20,000, but in reality they're stealing $1 million from you down the line, like, so we can know those things. And I did the math earlier, and it's about 16,000 streams to get $100 on Spotify. I have my calculator, but yeah, and so it seems like we're kind of going into the time slot of the Q&A. But I want to ask you one more question before we go into the Q&A, and it is, can you give us 3 gems on 3 things that an artist could know right now to help start their brand? Say they're just starting from scratch, like they have 50 followers, like, and they have a rough idea of who they are as a brand. Like, what are 3 things?
3 things to start your brand. First thing, know how other people see you. Second thing, if you're planning to use social media to grow your audience, make sure that you have a color scheme and your visuals are consistent. And the third thing is understand your brand personality. Are you a rager like Travis, or are you, more laid back like Billie, Billie Eilish? So I think those 3 things are really helpful for, with artists and their branding if they're starting from scratch.
Awesome, thank you.
Of course.
Yeah. So now we're entering the Q&A segment, and so just raise your hand and I will unmute you, and we can do this in a very orderly fashion. So anyone have any questions? Yeah? Okay. Hi, this is Life.
Yes, this is a question for Sierra Imari. In terms of blockchain technology, the new money is digital. How will that affect artists' ability to grasp the business that you said and that you spoke about? And what will be your role, even coming in as a consultant for these individuals, be it the artists or some even older executives who are clueless to what is going on in the blockchain world, which has changed the way transactions are done in the game of entertainment? That's my question.
Thank you so much for your question. I think honestly, it's a great question because augmented reality, digital currency, cryptocurrency, artificial intelligence really is about to play a major role in this reset. And I want to, again, ask the audience as well. Are you guys familiar with blockchain? I know you guys may have heard of it, but are you guys familiar with it or anything like that? No?
That was going to be my question.
Oh, okay. All right, awesome. So if you guys don't know, going back into the streaming, because this actually plays a major part into streaming services that aren't paying artists accordingly. As you guys know, streaming services don't pay artists what they're worth. So blockchain is a very helpful tool in the future because it basically handles digital data, including streaming services, analytics, contracts, payments, and it basically uses technology to track that information and also protecting it from hacking, editing, and it basically removes the middleman so you guys can get paid accordingly. I think that when it comes to how that plays a role is that all of you that are on here right now need to start doing the research on digital currency. Blockchain.
Yeah, blockchain. Right.
It removes the middleman, and so it creates a more authentic interaction. So instead of having to go through a label that's going to take, percentages out for royalties, I'm sorry, did you?
Yeah, I have another question after this, Travis, if it's okay. I have one more question to ask Sarah.
Yeah. But yeah, it just removes the middleman and it makes those transactions and interactions when it comes to payments more authentic, and you guys actually get what you're worth. I think that blockchain is going to definitely change the industry as a whole. There are a lot of blockchain music companies already out, such as media chains, such as Music Coin. So I would really recommend you guys to do more research on how that's going to change the industry and the implementation of that, but also how that's going to affect you and your strategy, because not only a lot of artists are not aware of that, but a lot of label heads that have been in the industry for a while, they're still looking at the industry how it was before the pandemic. So knowing that is going to put you 5-10 years ahead of the game, 100%.
Okay. What was your other question, Life?
Here's the other question. So I have a management company I just started called High End Music Partners.
Cool.
HEMP for short.
I love the acronym.
And respectfully, I also do a lot of education in cannabis, right? Cannabis education. How does cannabis affect musicians? Because they are synonymous. They go hand in hand. And
Absolutely.
does the young artists of today, are they utilizing CBD products? Are they using THC? What are they doing for their creativity? Does that plant help them in creativity? I know this seems a crazy question to be asking, but I live in a real world where people are definitely utilizing that plant to get not high, but to get creative. So do you see that affecting the industry at large, the use of the hemp plant or cannabis now that we have the regulations are in place, policies in place for recreational use, medicinal use, and industrial uses as it relates to the situation?
100%. I think that any artist, not every artist partakes in that behavior. I'm not going to put that on artists because I can't speak for all of them, but I personally know a lot of artists that utilize that behavior, to help them get creative when it comes to their songwriting process or producing process. I think since your company has that acronym and it's High End Music Partners and Hemp, I like the fact that it's playing on those words. If I could recommend something to you, I think if you create maybe like an affiliate artist program where you're incorporating CBD products and upcoming artists and, involve them in some way, I think that could be really helpful of getting those two mission statements across of the cannabis with creativity as well as music. Since they do go hand in hand, you need to implement a strategy where people and your audience can actually see them go hand in hand together. So hopefully it helps.
Yeah, well, the motto is creativity, hemp, high music partners, creativity on a higher note. And I'll be utilizing your services. I'll be utilizing your services now to help support that. So thank you for the answer. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Life.
It's amazing. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions at the moment? I see you over there. Bars. Here, I unmute you. There you go.
Hello. So I have an upcoming album coming out. Been working on it for like months. Cool. But after that, I don't know what to do. I don't want my discography to be a mess, basically. I don't know if I go into like an EP after that or like a series of singles after the album. I don't want to give too much and I don't want to give too little. So basically I want guidance on where to go after the album musically.
Makes sense. Firstly, love your background. Let me just say, I am a proud Beyoncé stan. We love the queen. So I love it. Secondly, I would say, and let me ask you this question, just so I have more of an understanding with where you are. Do you have like a marketing campaign or strategy involved with this album?
So it's a full rollout. It'll be a full campaign and rollout. Many different avenues for this one album coming. Yes, very prepared.
Okay, awesome. So I would definitely recommend that. Like, what is your timeline? I know with, confidentiality, you don't have to go too much in detail, but just so, is it a month? Is it 2 months? Since you have a full rollout, that can really be dependent upon, the timeline.
Yes, so it's hopefully sometime, all I can say is sometime this fall.
Okay.
The full album will release. Yeah, the single will release September, but sometime this fall, the full album should roll out.
Okay.
Yes.
Is your campaign strategy a month long, 2 months long?
I would say it's a month long. It like just to test things out.
Okay.
And start and push it out, like extend it basically.
Okay. Awesome. I would say when it comes to keeping the momentum after you drop the project, definitely take part and take advantage of visuals, 100%. Like truly, even if you have one main visual for, let's say, the single that you have coming out, there's an actual platform, and I would love all you guys to check it out. This isn't sponsored, I promise. It's called Chain, and you can actually create lyric videos on there. So even if you can create, let's say, one main visual for the single and 2 lyric videos for other 2 songs, that's gonna help build and keep the momentum from the original release, not just from the single, but from the project as well, because not only are they going to see the visual, but when people can read along to the lyrics, it retains in their head more. And they're gonna want to stream it more. So hopefully that's helpful when it comes to retaining the momentum from your original release.
You said, what's that called? That site or service?
B-Chain. Hold on, I will drop that in the chat for you guys. Give me one.
Yeah, these are some great questions. Just looking ahead, does anybody else have a question after bars?
I do.
Yeah,
I have a question.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Hello?
Yeah, you can go.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
Hi. So my question is basically, it revolves around like the EP or like EP release and campaigns. So basically, I also have an EP that I'm trying to release soon, but
Nice.
yeah, I wanted to do like basically like a campaign rollout and everything. And I mean, I'm the type of person that like looks on YouTube for like different tips and tricks and stuff. And I was thinking of doing like a sort of plan, like where I use my Instagram sort of like as a way to market it. But like, is there other ways that you would market like EPs, or like what would be like a really good way? And also, is Instagram, or what other platform is good to use besides Instagram where I could truly build a fan base?
That's a great question.
That is a great question.
A really good question. So yeah, you can definitely use Instagram to market. That's one of the tools that I really love the fact about acquiring Instagram, is that they implement a lot of business tools and features for businesses can use. And again, you guys are artists, but again, you guys are a business as well. You guys are selling a product, which is, music. And to answer your second question, I think that you can definitely utilize Snapchat marketing. If you know your audience is in the Gen Z, late millennial age range, I would recommend using Snapchat marketing. And actually, there was a deal that was just confirmed, I would say, either last week or this week, where music licensing can now be implemented into Snapchat. So I would definitely recommend Snapchat marketing. A lot of people are focusing on Facebook and Instagram or Twitter, but Snapchat is really where it's at when it comes to expanding your audience, growing your audience, and just having more of an authentic marketing strategy. Because to be honest, the best marketing is when it doesn't feel like marketing. So,
True, yeah.
you know? So if you can use Snapchat and, you know, do research on how you can reach your audience on Snapchat, or even, what is another site that you can use? I don't know how you feel about doing like ads like on websites and stuff like that. There's also a service called Taboola, and they create little ads that pop up on different like websites. So you can create an ad and put it on Complex's website, and any websites that have ad space, they do that as well. So Taboola and looking into Snapchat ads would be really, or just advertisement and marketing strategies. I think that could be really helpful with you growing your audience for sure, outside of Instagram. Instagram's helpful too.
So I would use those during the campaign, basically, like during the time. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm, no problem.
Great question. Yeah, I didn't know who Trippie Redd was at all before Snapchat showed me to him. So that was kind of what I thought of. My friend and I were like, you know what? Was he doing anything before his Snapchat stuff, or did like his marketing go into Snapchat being like, I've been here the whole time, you know, and we're just gonna act like I've been here the whole time.
Right.
I don't know. Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Oh, okay. And so, Tazreen, did you also have a question too? Go ahead, Jasamir.
Um.
Oh, sorry, you got muted for a second. Hang on, I'm gonna unmute you. Okay, it's not working. Okay. Who else is it? Who's on me? Oh, there we go.
Are we good now?
Yeah.
Cool. So I have a question. My name is Josh Amir. Shout out to everybody, Finessed Media, for putting this together, as always.
Thanks.
So my question is, in terms of marketing,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about having like, you know, different segments of marketing where it's like you got the social media platform. I'm gonna utilize that. I'm gonna utilize the visuals, and then I was gonna utilize, you know, playlists and different things of that nature. So I was gonna have it set up where it's come back to back to back to back to back to keep like spoon feeding people. I wanted to know exactly if that's because I wanted to do it for a single. So I wanted to test run the single with that plan and then try to use that same outline for like bigger projects and different things. Like, how do you feel about like that formula, or should I tweak it or something like that?
I think that formula is dope. I think the fact that you're trying to market in different segments and not putting all your focus in one is great. I think it's good that you're testing out strategies to see which works. I would recommend when it comes to the playlist section. Are you on Spotify? Do you have the Spotify analytics by any chance?
From United Masters, they give me the Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube analytics.
Okay, awesome. So I would recommend on Spotify Analytics, there's a feature on there where you can see how your listeners are finding your music. So I would say check that out when it comes to your playlisting and see if your current audience, because there's two different audiences, your current and your ideal. See if your current audience is finding your music through playlists. I think it's really important to see if they are utilizing playlists, because let's say if they're not, then that playlist sector may not be extremely efficient with what you're trying to have it do. So another strategy, if they are using playlists, then that's great, then you're already ahead of the curve. But if they're not, then I would recommend you reaching out to music blogs for a marketing strategy. Mm-hmm. And there's a bunch of music blogs, and they don't even have to be major, like Complex or Double XL. They can be Instagram upstarting, new music blogs, because they're looking for content as well. So as long as you're getting your name out there on a platform that you feel represents your music and represents you well, that can be a great marketing strategy for you as well, just from a publicist standpoint.
From a publicist standpoint. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to ask. Also, so like the big thing is making sure that I have a direct consumer relationship with the people that I have. So this is the last thing. I know everybody else got questions. So what's the best way to actually get in touch with the consumer, besides using these outlets?
I think the best way as of right now, I mean, honestly, I would say one of the best ways to engage with your audience is touring. But, you know, again, with COVID and the pandemic, that's really put that on hold. So I would say really utilizing social media in strategic ways. So, for example, it's about engagement. It's about building that intimate relationship, a parasocial relationship. So you have the digital screen, but we're still communicating. We're still, you know, having this conversation. So for example, definitely doing IG lives more consistent. If IG is your platform, if Facebook is your platform, then Facebook lives. If Twitter is your platform, then holding polls more often. And also implementing strategies where your audience can engage with you. So if it's a digital scavenger hunt, like it's been a minute since I've seen a really good digital scavenger hunt to get people engaged and get people hyped. I think that would be really dope for you.
That's fine. I never heard of that before. I'm gonna definitely get into detail about that. I appreciate that though. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessamir.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have a couple more questions. Tazreen, B Dukes, and Life have a question. Does anyone else have any questions coming up? I'm going to do it in the order that I saw it originally. So Tazreen, will you ask your question?
Hi, Sierra. My question for you is, how can artists and music leaders stay ahead of the game?
I love this question. Oh, I love this question. Well, one, I feel like you being on this this interview right now is being ahead of the game. You want to know more. You want to educate yourself. And education, not to sound very like old school, education is key, but honestly, it's key. Honestly, I would say read the trades, read the entertainment trades, read, there's a website, I don't know if you guys are familiar, Music Business Worldwide. You're getting daily updates every day of the music industry. Understanding what's going on in the industry is going to get you ahead. It's going to make you think about things that your counterparts and other people that are in your genre are not doing. I'm glad that you really bring up this question, because I just found out like the actual number on Spotify. There's 350,000 songs released a day. Like that's insane. You know, 350, like I don't even have 10K followers. Like 350,000 songs released a day. But majority of those artists releasing those songs a day probably aren't reading the trades. They're not educating themselves on what's going on the business side. Again, when you understand the business side, that's going to put you 10 steps ahead. It's not just about the creativity, and be creative. I'm not saying you have to be super business oriented, but just understanding how it works, your strategy is going to be more beneficial when you know how it works. So for example, I know you guys are familiar with the whole new TikTok ban and stuff like that, and like everything going on in the States. If you read the trades every day, you would know that Triller just got 250 million new subscribers in the last 5 days. You would be on Triller, figuring out, okay, well, how can I implement my music on Triller? How can I do that? So by the time it jumps off, when TikTok, if it does get banned, I don't know. Listen, I don't know if it is or not, but if it does, you're already ahead of the curve. But that's just because you read an article on Music Business Worldwide, or that's just because you read an article on Billboard, or even, you know, there's a conference as well called the AT&T Shape Conference that talks about the future of entertainment. So just reading the trades and just understanding what is actually going on the business side is going to put you 10 steps ahead.
Nice.
Thank you so much. That was really helpful.
Thank you. I'm glad.
All right. So we have three more people had questions. It's going to be Life, then B Dukes, and then Zahir. And then we are going to go a little over on this segment of time, and then we're going to go into the networking. So if anyone else has some questions towards the end, we should remain time conscientious for everybody on the call and for Sierra. So next is Life. You had your next question. Oh, hey, I'll unmute you.
Yeah, hello.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, so my era of the entertainment game, I started at Rush Artist Management with Russell Simmons and Leo Cohen in '89.
Dope.
And I stayed in the game till 2000 and then got called back in the military. My question to Sierra is, how important is mentorship from those in that era that are still around now, and how is it important that the young artist or executive connect to those that was there from the beginning, the foundation of where you guys are now? How important is that? That's the first question. And here's the second part. Relating to, as you mentioned, entertainment is now the medium to heal in this current time of COVID-19.
Yes.
What are the revenue stream parameters that these young artists can put together so that people can actually see them and know that they exist? Since there's so much music out there, are they going to incorporate some type of format, or are you going to create the format for these new artists to put that in motion? That's my question to you. Two-part: mentorship, the importance of the old getting with the young. I don't consider myself old. I consider myself wiser with the fact I have your knowledge now. And then, of course, the visual sense of these artists being seen in a virtual world. We'll just call it the music matrix. That's my question to you.
Oh, I love that name.
Yeah, that's badass.
Please coin that before I do.
Yeah. Don't take my intellectual property. I'm gonna have to charge you.
Of course not. Listen,
all right, cool.
I know the importance of IP. I would never do that. But when it comes to the importance of mentorship, I would not be as far in my career at 20 if I didn't have mentorship from different angles. You know, it's not just one angle. But also, I would say that being over-mentored and underfunded is also an issue from the older generation and the newer generation, meaning that you can have a lot of mentors, but if there's no investment, and I'm not talking about monetary either, but I'm talking about, and monetary too, that helps a lot. But when it comes to actual investment of growth and development, you can mentor somebody and not invest in their growth, if that makes sense. You know, you can give them gems all day, but if you're not helping them with that development and getting them on tracks where they can utilize the gems to their fullest potential, then that mentorship is only being, excuse my French, but half-assed, if that makes sense. But the mentorship, honestly, is extremely important. I think that, you know, without mentorship, a lot of artists today wouldn't, because you are learning from those who have come before you. You're learning, okay, the mistakes that they made, so you don't make those same mistakes. You're understanding how the ropes are, and so you don't have to fall and like hurt yourself. You can be like, okay, they taught me this. Okay, cool. I learned the importance of protection from my mentors. And my mentors never, you know, really instilled in me the importance of paperwork, putting things in writing, understanding what certain legal terms mean. And I'm not a lawyer. I don't know all of them, but I know what perpetuity means. I know what copyright means. I know what trademarking is. I know the importance of royalties. What are the different types of royalties? You know, licensing agreements, developmental deals, 360 deals. Those key words are important, but my mentors taught me that. And Google did too a little bit, but sometimes your mentors can do more than Google. And I know a lot of people my age, we run to Google for everything. It's a knowledge, you can literally Google anything, but having mentorship is 100% important. I think mentorship is a two-way thing. You know, I think the older generation can learn a lot from the young because this is a young industry. The youth runs this industry always. In the 50s, they said they were rebels from listening to rock music. In the 90s, when hip hop came around, they were saying, oh, that's dangerous gangster rap, but now hip hop is the most consumed music genre in the world. So I think that the older generation can really learn from the young, just like the young can learn from the old. And I think that's where that generational gap comes into play, because the older generation is focused on the old traditional way. And then the young generation, they're so focused on this new way that sometimes both of them can be a little stubborn when it comes to coming together and learning from each other. It's not about, oh, I know this, because honestly, Gen Z, I just mean as a Gen Z, I feel like sometimes I know it all because I have Google. I grew up with Google. I grew up with social media. I've had access to a lot of information growing up. But having mentors really humbled me that although I think I know everything, I really don't know shit. And there's a lot to learn. You know, it's always consistent learning and being a forever student. So mentorship should definitely be a two-way thing. And I definitely think it's important for any growth, development, success, you know, prosperity, abundance, all the words of, you know, just success. I definitely think it's important for that. And when it comes to your second question, about the creating a platform for artists to be seen, one thing that I've noticed in our generation and like Gen Z, late millennial, that's really important are collectives. I think collectives have really been a major standpoint on creating a platform where multiple artists and creatives and creative professionals can be seen. One collective that I really think is helpful, and I'm sure a lot of people in this chat will know, is Odd Future with Tyler, the Creator, Frank Ocean, Jasper, Taco, Sid, The Internet, like Steve Lacy, the list goes on and on and on. And, you know, just simply from that collective, there were TV shows that came out of that. There were fashion lines that came out of that. There were music, just albums after albums, visuals, job opportunities that came out of that one collective. So I really believe, and that's just for an example, there's a ton more. ASAP Mob, perfect example. So I really believe that Golf LaFleur, exactly, and I love the golf store too in LA. So
yeah,
it's such an amazing.
I love it.
Yeah, it's such an amazing transmedia aspect of creating a platform worldwide by just people coming together. So I would definitely recommend that if you're not in a collective or Create Pro Era, exactly, Joey Badass's collective. You know, like there are so many collectives that have helped put people on, because everyone's coming together and everyone's contributing their strengths to the end goal, which is getting everybody in that collective on and successful. So hopefully that answers your question. I think that could be really helpful for you.
Thank you.
Great questions. Next, we had B Dukes with their question.
Hi, Sierra, and thank you all for putting this on. I have a question that's more so geared towards a lot of younger artists that I work with. I'm originally from South Carolina, so being from the South, especially like the Deep South, what would you say to those younger artists who see those collectives and see certain artists like DaBaby and a lot of folks rise up in the South and then leave? What would you say to those artists who severely feel like their success is based on their location and feel like they don't have any chance because they can't get out of the Deep South?
First of all, great question. And I love your plants in the back. I'm a plant mom, so I love it. Wow, I love that question. I would really say to those upcoming artists, remove that mindset that your location is a hindrance, because it's not. It's a mindset thing. And a lot of times people think that it's a marketing issue. A lot of times people think, oh, it's a location issue. It's a mindset issue. DaBaby came from Charlotte. I grew up in Charlotte. There are not a lot of creatives that came from Charlotte. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the group Jodeci. That was the only famous group celebrities that came out from Charlotte until DaBaby. But I really think, you know, it's a mindset thing. I think when it comes down, we're in the digital age. Social media is everything. LMA got signed from a little small ass town in the UK from posting a video on Instagram. The Shade Room posted it, and then she got a deal. Now she's Grammy Award winner. You know, the location now is different. It's not like in the 70s or 80s, you know, you had to move to LA, you had to move to New York, or even a couple of years ago, you had to move to LA, you have to move to New York, because honestly, just being in LA and being from New York originally, there are a lot of people that move there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that move makes them successful. DaBaby got successful while he was still in Charlotte. What got him successful was his content and his marketing. And then when people listened to his music, they were like, oh, this is actually kind of good. This is some heat. This is fire. Like, okay, like maybe this is a little different. But they weren't consumed with, oh, he's from LA. Oh, he's in New York. Oh, no, same thing with Megan. Same thing with Travis. They take the fact and they use their location to their advantage. Astro World, perfect example. Literally, one of extremely pivotal and essential part of Travis's brand. Because there weren't really a lot of artists that came out of Houston outside of Beyonce before Travis and Megan. The fact that he used his childhood memory of Astro World, the amusement park that shut down, and then revived that, like that marketing genius. Same thing with Megan. Hot girl summer. I'm a Houston hottie. Texas, we're in the cowboy hats, the short shorts. I'm a Southern girl. That's what we are. Super thick. That's what it is. Using her location to her advantage. Honestly, too, I would say South Carolina, just living in North Carolina for a little bit, South Carolina has a lot of history. It has a lot of dope people that are very talented. And a lot of people don't know that. It's time to tap into the unknown so you can bring that to life. The market right now is, I wouldn't say it's oversaturated, but it's saturated. And a lot of people are seeing the same thing. People want new stuff. People are tired of seeing the same stuff over and over again. So utilizing your location to your advantage, upping your content and your marketing based on your location, that's what's going to be the key. So it's a mindset thing. It's not a location thing at all. It's about, okay, if I'm from South Carolina and, specifically in a town where this happened but nobody knows, how can I use that? How can I make that a bar? How can I use that influence in my visuals? How can I collaborate with other people in my city and make a whole different collaboration? Perfect example. I'll use Megan again for an example, just to give more context. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the video that first blew up with Megan in the fall of 2016. It was a Houston freestyle cypher. That video went viral and it had 2.6 million views in 48 hours. People watched the whole thing, but people just wanted to watch Megan. But she collaborated with so many other people in her city. And, those artists were sharing it. So their audiences were sharing it. And then their audience were sharing it. And then to the point where, because you're collaborating with people in your city, more people are just going to pay attention to it and it's going to spread faster. So I would say take advantage of where you are that's unknown. People like the unknown. People like to know things that they don't know because it gets them interested. It gives them something new. It gives them something to learn. It gives them something to be intrigued about, instead of being like, yeah, I already know what that's about to be. Because when you think about it, if there's something that you assume, oh, well, I already know what that's about to be. All right, I can already see what that is. That's the same thing that I'm seeing all over the place. But if it's something that's different, they're from where? South Carolina. I don't know a rapper. I don't know a singer from South Carolina. What's that about? What does their sound like? Is it going to sound like Texas? Is it going to sound like Atlanta? Is it going to sound like Louisiana? Is it going to sound like Florida? Like, what does that sound like? It's going to get them interested. So use that to your advantage. Again, it's a mindset thing. So just shifting that and using it to their advantage could be really helpful.
Oh, thank you for that.
Yeah, great question. Is everybody finding these questions helpful? Can I get a thumbs up if this is all good stuff for you? Awesome. Yes. I think it's great. And before we get to our last question before the networking portion, is I actually have an example of an artist from North Carolina. If anyone's familiar with Toro y Moi, Chaz Bundik, he's from North Carolina, and his music got fairly successful, and he got eventually signed to Car Park Records, and then moved to San Francisco, the Bay Area, after his apparent success. And there's a video of him, if you know the Boiler Room TV, like the DJ, his DJ set, he's rocking the North Carolina shirt, and he's like DJing. So that was my example. I totally agreed. Toro is the GOAT. And okay, so our last question is here. I'm gonna unmute you right now.
Hello.
Hi.
So my question is about music blogs. We talked about it. We touched it earlier. Because I just created one like 2 weeks ago, and I just wanted to know. Thank you. And I just wanted to know like the importance of it and like how would I go about like the marketing and building the audience for it.
That's a good question, especially from a music blog standpoint. Well, one, congratulations again. I think that's dope. Thanks. When everybody creates a platform or just has a new release out. I always think it's really dope when you put your vision out to the world, because it's basically people getting a glimpse of your mind. So I think that's super dope. When it comes to the marketing aspect, let me ask you this. Are you familiar with your audience? Because just because you're a music blog doesn't mean that you have the same audience as other music blogs. Are you familiar with like the audience you're trying to target?
Well, that's the one thing I was struggling with. I didn't know if I was to like, if I should have gone towards like, maybe I was sticking towards, like new artists and like maybe updates and news in general.
Okay. So like a mix of upcoming daily updates, upcoming starter stuff. I think one, that's amazing. I don't really see a lot of music blogs catering to the upcoming. A lot of music blogs that I follow are just focused on a specific genre or artists that are already out. So I think that's super dope, especially with like industry news and upcoming artists. Like I don't see anything like that. So I love that. And drop the @ in the below so I can follow that too. And all of you too, if you guys can drop your Instagrams below, I would love to keep, updated on your journeys and stuff like that. But when it comes to marketing, I definitely feel like you have to understand your audience. You have to understand your message before you get to marketing. Marketing is about expressing that. And I think creating series on the music blogs, especially if it's like on an Instagram, can be really helpful with that engagement. So if you are catering to new artists, follow new artists, make sure you're following hashtags, unsigned heat, unsigned singer, unsigned rapper, I'll make sure you write that down before I go further. So yeah, just making sure you're following certain hashtags like that so you can see, okay, who's this upcoming singer, who's this upcoming rapper, who's this person that's not developed yet, like if that's the audience you're catering to, go and find them so they know that you exist. You have to go and find them. Like there are artists where I follow all of those hashtags. I follow a lot of just the music hashtags on Instagram, so I can find the people that I'm catering to. And then once you start building that audience, because you can follow people, they're going to start following you back. Not everyone you follow will follow you back, but people are going to follow you back. Especially if they see that you're a music blog, because if they're an upcoming artist, they're going to be reaching out to you. It's going to be a partnership type of thing. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I'm looking for new artists. I would love to highlight you on my page. They're looking for exposure. And if you post them, they're going to post your page. Other artists are going to find you from their page. So it's just one of those things where I feel like really identifying your audience. So if you're focusing on just singers, like those cover pages and stuff like that, I don't know if you guys are familiar with those, or those unsigned rapper pages. They just focus on rappers or singers. But if you're just focusing on artists in general, go out and find them. They're going to find you back. They're going to follow you. And if you're highlighting them, they're going to highlight you. I really believe in the law of attraction. What you put out is what you get back. So I feel like if you go and find them, they're definitely going to come find you, and that's going to help you with your marketing. And adding a series too to build that engagement and help with engagement is just going to make it better.
Thank you. That's actually how I found Travis.
See?
Yeah. Thank you, though.
Of course.
I'm just typing in everybody's Instagram handle so it can be in like one large message. But I got all the ones that were there right now, and I included my own in this message. And so, yeah, definitely add your handle and into the chat thing. And if there's anything you want to leave us with today, Sierra, as we kind of wrap things up. Oh, Alexia, you have something to say?
Yeah, we actually have a question from an IG Live fan. Elizabeth is asking, what can supporters of artists do to better support their artists, and if they're not affiliated with the music industry at all?
I love that question. One thing, I don't want to sound cliche, fan pages do help. They do help. Another thing I would do is, I don't know if the artist that they're referring to is an upcoming artist or like a mainstream artist, but let's say if they're upcoming and they want to support them, I would definitely like 100% recommend, if they have, strategies, do lives with them. Like if they're up and coming, interview them. Even if they don't know, you can go on Google, questions to ask in an interview. You know, you're cross-pollinating, but using their audience to help their favorite artists, you know, to help support them. Another thing that I would recommend is if they have any like specific skills, like if they're a graphic designer or if they're a really great writer, they can use that to help their artist. So if the artist doesn't have a bio, if they're a really great, awesome writer, they can help write that artist's bio. So if they do ever get interviews, they already have it. If they're dope graphic designer, okay, like I would love to help them, you know, create some cover art for them. Even if they're not in the music industry, you know, they can use their skills to help those artists. Another thing too is posting their music. Like there's songs that I post that are like 40 years old and people are like, I've never heard this, like I'm gonna go check it out. Just because if they see people interacting with them, they're gonna be like, well, I wanna do that too. It's like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the FOMO theory, fear of missing out. If you post something and people see that continuously, they're gonna be like, oh, well, I wanna be involved in that. I wanna see what that is. So I think that could be helpful.
Well, thank you, Sierra.
Any last questions, anyone?
Yes, I actually do. Some questions to finish off. There are actually two, if that's okay. Just two quick questions, I promise. So my first question, actually, to piggyback off of the location thing, the location question, basically, because I had the plan of like moving out because I live in San Diego, and it's somewhat not really a musical city like that. Okay. Yeah, and especially being like a Black woman, it's not really a space that's catered towards like Black female artists. So, you know, I was also having the thinking of the option of moving and figuring out where my space sort of lies. But I mean, you made up a really good point about it really isn't really determined on location, but I wanted to know, in your opinion, what do you think is like the best musical space or city that is catered to Black women?
I love this question, especially as a Black woman, of course. You know.
Yeah.
So, I would say honestly, this may sound a little cliche, but Atlanta, when it comes to just Black people in general, just their space of innovation when it comes to the Black community is out of this world. But it also depends on the scene that you're in. You know, like the DMV Black girl music scene is very spiritual, very grounded, very I'm in tune, consciousness. Atlanta is very female rap. New York is very like old school conscious, 80s, 90s influenced. LA is very, you know, I'm vibing, you know, it's good energy type of thing. So it really just depends on the type of music scene that you're in, you know, when it comes to the type of content and music that you're creating. And I think because there's multiple different music scenes in states and then just music scenes in general, then there's subsidiary, you know, music scenes of like other music scenes. So I think once you identify, you haven't already, or that you have, because you've asked a lot of dope questions, what type of music scene that you're in, I think then start researching or finding other people in your music scene and seeing where they are. I didn't know that the DMV music scene was super like dope underground type of music scene until I came back home. Like, and yeah. I was seeing so many artists, like, I was like, oh shit, like y'all are really like on a different wave than how they are in LA. And it just makes me appreciate the different music scenes that are out there. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, for sure. Because, you know, I'm trying to break more into the Afrobeat music scene. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, San Diego does have like an Afrobeat music scene, but it's very small. And I was trying to look into more like, you know, more areas that have predominantly like Black artists and that, yeah, like I can truly be, I don't want to sound selfish, but kind of cater to, but yeah, like, because it's just very hard to, I mean, I'm building my fan base here, but it's been a little bit of a journey to do that because I've really been at it since I was 17. You know, I'm 20 now, so yeah. And you know, I've just been building. And the second question that I have regarding the fan base, do you think that it's wise to build the fan base first, the best time to accept offers from music moguls and record labels, or do you think that you should build the fan base stronger first before anything and accept partnership and AR deals before record labels?
I love this question. Okay. Just to finishing off your first question, I saw Tiffany saying that we'll come to the A Shawty, and I agree. If you really want a larger like community of support, like in your music scene, I would definitely consider moving to Atlanta, especially for Black young women that are into the Afrobeat scene. Definitely. When it comes to building your audience before signing any paperwork with the label or music mogul and stuff like that, yes, build your audience first. And honestly, music moguls and executives, they're probably not going to reach out to you unless you have an audience.
Okay.
That's just facts. Like, their audience has to be present. It doesn't even have to be like a major audience, but there needs to be some engagement there. There needs to be some type of presence of an audience there. And again, I would like to mention that followers do not equate to fans.
Right.
So if you guys can write that down, I would definitely recommend you guys have that. Just because people are watching you doesn't mean that they're supporting you. And so having a support fan base where they're like, oh, I'm going to go hard when she releases. Okay, like we got like how the Beehive goes crazy, how the hotties go crazy, like the Little Monsters for Lady Gaga go crazy. Like, that's the same energy that your fan base needs to have. And it doesn't even have to be the same size and amount in the sense of the quantity, but the quality of your audience matters, and that's going to get the music mogul's attention. Just from a young music mogul myself, I think that's definitely going to be key. But also too, I think that the right time to be speaking with them is when you know more about the business. So if they come to you about a deal, if they come to you about they're interested in communicating with you, you need to know what that deal requires. What does that entail? What's implemented in that contract? What's going to be done? What's the timeline of that? Because there's a lot of deals where they're saying, oh, we're going to be doing this, we're going to be doing that. And there's no timeline. Like, there's no, okay, after a year, like, what's going to happen after that? I really recommend that if that's the goal to get noticed by an executive, to have those conversations, is to know what they're going to be talking about, because not all of them, but there's some people in the industry that take advantage of the artist's not knowing the business. And because they know that you don't know, they're going to try to use that to their advantage. And I recommend that you guys know, so you guys don't get in those situations. There's so many artists that have potential that have shot themselves in the foot because they didn't take the time to research it. When we have all of these resources like Google, literally, that will literally break down step by step what a deal is, what a 360 deal is. And so I would just recommend that you guys take the time to do that. So if a music mogul or a music person comes to you, you know what that is. And I just want to give you guys like an example. I was speaking with an artist earlier this week, and she was asking me on my advice on her current situation. She was working with a producer that was actually taking the role of an A&R.
Oh, wow.
Like, he created a whole thing called a artist map. I've never heard of that ever in my life. And so she was like, well, yeah, he wanted to rebrand me and change my artist name and get my audience. Like, he did the whole thing by himself. He didn't involve her in any aspect. But he said, well, that's his job as a producer. I said, that's not what a producer does. That's what an A&R does. But she didn't know. She didn't know the business. She didn't know what it was. And she knew in her gut feeling it was a little off. But that's why I recommend you guys take the time to understand how the business works, because there are people that will take advantage of you because they know that you don't know. So I just recommend that you guys really, if you guys want this, which all you guys all are here, so you guys are interested in like really taking it serious, researching is, make it fun. Watch videos. If you're not a reader, watch YouTube videos on it. Take an online course, invest in yourself, invest in your career. Like, artists are the only business people that feel like they have to be in the business without educating themselves. If you're a doctor, you have to go to medical school. If you're a lawyer, you have to go to law school. If you are a contractor, you have to get trained. It's the same thing as an artist. You have to know how the business works so you can function successfully. So hopefully that helps. And keep me updated on that too. I would love to know like your audience building strategies to see if I can help.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've come up with a lot. I've been researching and watching YouTube videos too, and it's just been, it has helped, you know. I think the main thing was like just performing. I love performing in general, like it's one of my favorite things. And just reaching out to people. I think like my brand is, I guess, positivity. Like, I guess like creating like a safe space for people who come from all facets of life and like creating community. And I guess building off of that, but I'm trying to solidify that, but I'm trying to figure out how I'm like supposed to do it. You know what I mean? Like, how would I portray community like how Travis Scott portrays Astroworld? Yeah.
Well, one thing I would say, just to go off of that, is your brand is going to be your connector to your audience. So when you say your brand is positivity, when you say your brand is community building, that can be an aspect of your brand, but your brand is you. Like, let's put that, you know what I mean? Like, your brand is you. So if your part of your brand is community building, then it's like, okay, what strategy I can use on social media to build a community? Are you doing IG lives? Are you doing, you know, are you asking your audience questions to get their feedback? Do they feel engaged? You know, so it's like, do they feel like they're in a community, or do they feel like, because I know some artists, they just say, oh, listen to my music, oh, do this, oh, do that. Like, people rather be engaged and feel they have the option to engage versus just being like, oh my God, like, this is so much information. Like, you know what I mean? So if it's about positivity, are you posting positive quotes on your social media? You know, it's like, are you sending inspirational, you know, shareable posts to your audiences? Like, what are you doing that portrays your brand, so they don't just say, oh, well, she talks about it in her music, but she's not doing that when she's not talking about her music. Like, it needs to be a full communicated thing, like 100%.
Okay. That makes more sense.
And I also go further detail on like branding aspects, guys. I have a free branding cheat sheet that breaks down the 6 simple steps on how to brand yourself. And I also go more detail on that in my ebook as well.
Cool.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
It seems like we have one more question from Life, and then we're going to wrap things up.
Okay.
If that's all right?
Yep.
Is that all right with everyone? Okay. Go ahead, Life. I'll unmute you. Oh, hang on. Sorry, one second. It's not very receptive. Alexia, are you clicking unmute at the same time as
me? Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I'm asking a ton of questions, but I have these questions, right?
Oh, it's all right.
So here we are now in the global landscape, right? Global. How is from your standpoint, how is the domesticated landscape differ from the international landscape? And what does that mean for an artist that's trying to broaden their audience across and overseas, in the Caribbean, in Europe, in Asia? I mean, what is the differences, and how do you, meaning you, how do you help support the collective here in that capacity?
Well, I love this question, actually. First of all of you guys have asked amazing questions. But when it comes to the global landscape, you know, I would say the difference between the global market and the domesticated market is that in the States, everything is very, gotta keep it real with you guys, very segregated, very organized. You have hip hop charts, R&B charts, country charts, pop charts, classical charts, jazz charts. Everything is very like organized in their category. Whereas internationally, like in the UK, when it comes to like the radio stations, it's any station, 1 hour they have hip hop, one other hour on the same station, they're gonna have rock, another hour on another station, they're gonna have country, another hour, you know, so it's more of a intertwined aspect. I feel though, because the States as a country is so big that the categorization helps a little bit when it comes to different music markets. But I feel like artists, for example, if you're in the States and you want to cater to people in Nigeria or people in Africa and South Africa, start using Afrobeats, start studying what they're doing in that country. If you want to cater to K-pop listeners, which is a global phenomenon, start studying K-pop groups, start studying how people in the K-pop scene interact with their audience, understand their visuals, understand, you know, what is the cultural implications that you can use to help your brand to build that audience. I actually, industry insider secret for you guys, I got a note from a industry professional that in a couple months, and mind you, I'm going to tell you guys, so you guys, when this comes out, you guys know what's going on. You guys are familiar with the Billboard Hot 100, right? I want to make sure you guys are. Okay.
Yeah.
So because we are moving into this global world, which is why I love this question, in the next upcoming months, Billboard is going to be releasing a global top 200 charts.
Nice.
So what that means is that whoever has that number one on the global 200, that means that they have a song that caters to every audience around the world. So whoever's that first number one on the global charts, study them. See what they're doing. Are they doing a project? Every project is a different genre to show their versatility. You know what I mean? Like what are they doing that's going to cross over in languages? Maybe do an album or even do a single that's in different languages. You know, it's like a single word that's in French, I'm sorry, that's in Spanish, that's in, you know, Mandarin, that's in English, that's, you know, like start utilizing the global mindset, because that's where the industry is headed, especially because, again, social media, it's not just, oh, the local newspaper, the local radio station, the local whatever, it's now global. So again, it's a mindset shift. When it comes to me and creating that platform on a global scale, I'm actually in the midst of creating my ebook in different languages. I know a lot of other countries, you know, they do obviously have their bilingual, so they do speak English, but I feel like if it's catered in 2 different languages, that would be very beneficial for them, so they can also retain the information to help their music careers as well. But I also am aware that the music business, although it's the same underlining structure around the world, the different countries and the different labels and the different companies around the, you know, in different countries, they're a little different. So I feel like just adding a different spin based on different languages could be really helpful just globally. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have some favorite artists that are from Russia. And yeah, and some of their songs are in Russian. I don't know what they're saying, but I really enjoy it.
No, I love artists. Another thing too, just to add on the global scale, is if you guys aren't familiar, check out Color Studios. Perfect example of a global strategy. They get dope underground artists from around the world. There's artists, and I don't even know what they're saying, but the music is just so good that I start learning their language just because it's like, I just start singing along, the chorus is catchy, and I'm like, ooh. And, you know, I had a French friend back in Los Angeles, and I was singing a French song, I was singing the chorus, and she was like, you know French? And I was like, no, girl, this is just this song on Color Studios, and it's so fire. And so, you know, start looking at global publications, because you never know what you might find that may influence you, so you can broaden your audience on a global scale.
I just put in I just chatted a word, apir. I think it's pronounced drug in Russian, but it means friend. So that's the word I learned in Russian. So, which is a pretty good word to learn in another language. B Dukes just sent me something out here. I'll link it to everyone. Well, thank you very much, everyone. this kind of draws the close of our event. Yeah, round of applause. You can definitely turn off, unmute yourself when you want to clap. You can definitely do that. A round of applause for Sierra. She did an amazing job. Thank you for joining us. That's awesome. And you know, I posted everybody's social medias in the side, and if you want to, I will post it again. Just make sure to follow everybody and stay up to and IG Live. And am I cutting up right now? My computer's telling me my internet's unstable.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little.
Yeah, and Alexia, would you like to add anything? You wanna finish it up for me since my internet's being weird?
Yeah, no problem. So if anyone would like to connect with us at Finessed Media, we are available on Instagram. You're always welcome to send us your music at info@finessed.media if you'd like to be featured. Sierra can be found at Gen Z Exec on Instagram. And Sierra, I've actually read your post-pandemic playbook, and it's awesome. It's so
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah, really great stuff. So we're really happy to have everybody join us today. Oh, am I breaking up for you guys a little bit too? No? Okay, awesome. We have a Finessed Media collective for artists and aspiring music entrepreneurs. So if anyone's interested in joining that, just send us a message. I'll keep this open for just a little bit longer if you all need to get the tools on the side that are in the chat or the Instagrams of everybody. But feel free to connect with us. We're here to support you at Finessed Media. Sierra is here to support you. And thank you, everybody, so much. Thank you, Sierra, for all of the great advice.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me in this opportunity, and thank you guys for coming too. It really means a lot. I'm so glad I was able to interact with you guys and help.
Definitely.